Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second installment of updates around the dialogue system for Game Guru, a video game engine that I like to use. Basically what I've now implemented is a dialogue tree. This is so that the character can actually talk to you, and you can talk to him, and he'll talk back to you, and maybe he gives you like a final line for whenever you want to interact with him. I've also added the ability for audio. So now, when you talk to the character, you're actually going to hear him. You're also going to notice something else that's new. There's now an interactive prompt on the screen, and what that does is it displays the variable that holds the string of the character's name. So instead of typing out each character's name and all the code, you just have it in once stored in the entity. Also, I'm thinking about adding the ability for key binding for interactive, the interactive key, the key to interact with NPCs, to be displayed on the screen where it says E, because maybe you don't want it to always be E. So let's see what happens when we talk to him.
I don't think we ever met. It's good to see new people around here. Do you like this town?
So basically, I call it scratch recording. I think that's the common term in the gaming industry for audio that, say, one of the programmers recorded, not a professional vocalist, and I'm definitely not a professional vocalist, but it helps me get an understanding of the length of time that dialogue would actually sound like with what's written. So what I've done is I've added the ability for the timer to be there, so that every time there's a set line of dialogue, there's also a set time that dialogue should display. Since there's no way to really tell the length of the actual sound file that I'm aware of at the moment in Lua, the command language that we're using, or code language rather, and so basically it's something that's just manually tested, and I have kind of like, if nothing's ever written, it's going to automatically default to a certain amount of milliseconds. I've also added the ability for a pause within the finalization of his speech, so that way all the dialogue doesn't get mashed up together. So now what I've also done is I've added the full dialogue tree so that you can hear him respond after I've responded to him.
That's good to hear. Enjoy your stay.
So, what happens now is the whole dialogue tree is finished, and it has now thrown you to like a default kind of closing. So if you were to talk to him again,
Goodbye.
he's just going to say goodbye to you.
Goodbye.
Something also that I've added that you can't see here yet, because this current character doesn't have enough animations for it. For every line of text that appears on screen with audio, each dialogue line, or set rather, is going to have animations. And so basically you can make him do whatever that's in the model if you wanted. You can make him kind of pose in certain ways, or have his hands on his hips, or moving his hands around. Now that I've actually finished this dialogue tree in this playthrough, I might have to exit again and choose a different option so you can hear the other options that I've given the player to respond to. A couple other things that I should note is that I'm hoping to create a dialogue database system, whereas another entity that's holding the script, like there's going to be another script that holds all of the text and dialogue from all the characters on the map and all the audio, and that way the scripting would be so much easier on all the entities, because that way the characters can walk around and fight and do things, and then also be able to have dialogue options as well without the code being completely crazy. So that's something that's going to take a lot more work, but it will allow for these characters to be modular, so you can just plop them in and they should all just work. I'm also thinking about making it where you can randomize certain responses. So we interact
I don't
with
think
him.
we ever met. It's good to see new people around here. Do you like this town?
So now if you go to the second option, tell me more about it.
Not much goes on around here. Just drinking and fishing.
You know, I was very tempted to make him say something else there instead of fishing. But, you know, this is just an example.
Goodbye.
Also, I made it so that, you have to be within range of him. Also, something I didn't show you is there is a bit of animations I've added. Not really an animation, but
Goodbye.
if you click on him, he'll actually
Goodbye.
face you. And what I'm also going to do is if you're really close, like this close, he's just automatically going to turn to you, especially if you're bumping into him, because it's kind of weird that he doesn't turn around.
Goodbye.
But, yeah, I thought that's just a nice little touch.
Goodbye.
So that you're not talking to his back. And also, the integration of animations is going to make this a lot more fun. I'm also thinking about making it so that other NPCs walking around can talk to each other with their own dialogue trees, or maybe you're talking to a character and that conversation includes the other if they're within range, maybe. Think about going pretty complicated with it, but still having a very simple way of looking at the script so that other people can use it too. So let's hear that last piece of dialogue. Also, there was something else I was going to consider. Say you have like lots of music or sound effects happening in the game while you're trying to talk to someone. Think about adding it so that you can do audio ducking so that the dialogue is the most clear thing you hear. Not the wonderful medieval music or whatever music you're going to be using in your game. You know what this reminds me of? It's kind of like Skyrim. Maybe I should make it where if you duck and get close to them, you can pickpocket them. Maybe for another script.
I don't think we ever met. It's good to see new people around here. Do you like this town?
That makes me think of another thing to do. The way he kind of said, I don't think we met, when I'm trying to talk to him from behind him. I think I should make it where he rotates first, and when he finally sees you is when he starts his first initial greeting conversation. And that's what it is. All the characters will have their initial greeting conversations, and you can also make it where they don't have to interact. You don't have to interact with them for that greeting conversation to happen. They could be just walking by and say something to you. So there's so much more you can do once this whole thing is finalized. Let's see what the last response is.
That's how I felt when my family decided to move here from Stonehill.
So basically, I have a full dialogue tree. It's complete from start to end. You're interacting with this new guy and that you've met, and he's never met you, and you are learning about this town. Well, he doesn't really teach you much about it. He's just asking you if you know anything about it. But yes, so that's pretty much it for this update. For the next one, I'm hoping to implement the sound ducking so that music can happen. Also have more, maybe even randomized lines within the dialogue sets. That way, he doesn't always say the same thing. So maybe your play might be different from someone else's play. Or,
Goodbye.
when you're interacting with him here, he's always just saying goodbye. Maybe
Goodbye.
it'll be random to 3 different dialogue options. I'm also thinking about adding dynamic dialogue, whereas you could be, maybe you have a companion or something and they're fighting with you, and then they're talking at the same time about what's happening. Or even if one's like walking on a waypoint and just kind of says something if you happen to be nearby, or a full conversation as if you're following him or something. Or maybe they're just singing and you're following as well. And I think I am going to add maybe just an example animations into some of these too, just to make it look more engaging. Alright, thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble.